Hello, Thrive Loud listeners. At Thrive Loud, we are always connecting you, the listener, with amazing leaders that are thriving in their lives, their businesses, and their passions. We also have had hundreds of thriving women that have been featured on this podcast. Continuing this important effort, Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, Success.com, and Clubhouse have joined together to create a special series called Elevating the Brilliant Minds of Women. You'll get a chance to learn about these incredible initiatives of women across the globe, hear about how they are thriving, and how you can connect with them today. Enjoy this amazing conversation, and after the episode, learn more about this powerful initiative.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to pull rank on you. I don't want to have to do this, but I'm with the mattress police. There are no tags on Lou Diamond's mattresses. Plenty of stains, but no tags.
Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond. Today on Thrive Loud, we have author, media commentator, speaker, lover of metaphors. You have to go back to understand what that's about. She's been with us before. She is somebody who I love to say solves problems, builds resilience, amplifies capacity, and we're going to talk about this, helps you take back your weekends. Coming back by encore demand and everybody wanting you to come in here. Allison Graham, welcome back to Thrive Loud.
Oh, thanks for having me. I loved our original podcast. So getting to do this again this is awesome.
For those, we will provide the links in the show notes for all of you viewers on LinkedIn and Facebook. Good to see you. And for all of those listening in on the Thrive Loud podcast stream, wherever you get your podcasts, we're going to put the links for our original interview because, one, it was totally dynamic. I didn't really know Allison at that point, and it was one of those like, wow, what an amazing human. And we really went back and forth on a whole different bunch of levels, but we've continued the conversation. And as part of our continuing series, Elevating the Brilliant Minds of Women, something we are doing here at Thrive Loud, Success.com, which all started somehow in Clubhouse, I get to bring you back here today. So isn't this exciting?
It is awesome.
This is like we're elevating you to this new level here.
You just want my hands here. Is that why?
This was all about listeners and viewers need to know that she was more excited about the fact that it looked like she was just wearing a sweater, but she's got all this funky stuff on her sleeves, which are really cool, kind of like fringy, like, frilly things on them. I don't know. What would you call them?
I have no idea. Designer. I love it. Anyway, when I realized that I was getting on air in a turtleneck, it felt boring. But
so I think this is perfect because we have to just do a very short rewind. I want to catch up our listeners as to what you've been focused on, what you're up to, not the thing we're going to talk more about, which I gave in the intro, just like the work you've been doing. And then we're going to dive into that because there's some like crazy irony with all of that. So first of all, how have you been?
I've been great. And you know what? Of course, I'm concerned for the world. I mean, we are in the middle of a pandemic. So of course, right, we're concerned about that. Because I've been teaching resilience and because I embody everything that I have, that I teach, it was actually fairly easy for me to pivot from a world that was, conference bound and airplane. Oh, I do miss airplanes. Let's be honest.
No one misses airplanes. We just miss going to the place that we're going. We don't really miss the planes.
Well, in fairness, I did say to somebody the other day, do you remember that stale air that was actually like recycled fresh air that you got in the airplane? Like I can remember it. Anyway, so I was actually really fortunate in how I was able to apply a lot of the frameworks that I teach my clients in order to, come out from underneath the, dining room table in the fetal position when my business blew up, right? So I feel very blessed. I feel very fortunate. And I think one of the things that means so much to me is helping others. And this has been, a chance where I can do that and do it, in a pair of fuzzy socks and yoga pants and a turtleneck, so I love it.
And for the first time listeners connecting here with Allison, you come to us from Toronto. Well, you're in Canada. I don't know exactly specifically where you are.
Right. Well, some people say, oh, Canada? Oh, you're in Toronto. No, not quite the same.
Right.
So I'm about 2.5 hours outside of Toronto and in a place called London, Ontario.
Gotcha.
And so halfway to Detroit.
Okay. You're one of those that, isn't there that part of Canada that's actually south? There's like a trick, like, oh, what country is immediately south of Detroit? And it's Canada or something like that. Not there. Something like
Not
that.
quite there.
Okay. One of the things that you are spectacular at is not only being resilient, but also how you manage your time, how you manage your life, how you manage your business, and all of that. And I think there's some real irony because you are all about taking back your weekends. Yet it seems that one of the weekends was recently taken from you. Can you share with the listeners what you've just brought to market and what this is all about? Because I think it's spectacular, but the story about how it's just come to us right now, and we're very timely on this, is even more important.
Yes. So, and here's the thing, taking back the weekends is not to say that working long hours is bad. In actual fact, I love working. Like, I'm all in. I just want people to have a choice. And I want that when you're working, you're not stressed.
Yeah.
Stress is literally killing people. And I truly believe that if we can detach emotionally from our to-do list, then we can actually buy back a lot of capacity in our lives to do more and be more. And so I had an idea about, was it 10 days ago? To write a book. And I did. And so I literally left the lake. I was spending most of the lockdown at the lake. And I'm like, I got to write this book. Hopped in my car, came here, started writing, and I published it last night. Now it's a mini book. It's a short book, specifically because it's designed for people who are really busy, who are very successful, and are just like done with the burnout and not keeping up. And, really it came, the original time when I started saying, take back your weekends and built the online program was quite some time ago now. And it was actually, I was giving a workshop with a small executive team, and one of the guys started to cry. And he's like, you know what? I'm missing my kids' childhood. Like, I can't keep up. I work every Saturday, I work every Sunday, and I don't know what to do about it. And I'm like, well, we gotta make a plan to take back your weekends. And the thing is that if you are working on the weekend and you don't want to be, or late nights after the kids go to bed, or whatever, it doesn't matter, then something about how you approach your day-to-day and what you're doing has to change, because the patterns are not working.
Yeah. So let's go through this here. And by the way, it is so true. And I don't blame just COVID on this. I actually think this has been happening for a while because we have so many ways to connect to us virtually and via our phone at all times. That, there is no typical work week anymore, and it bleeds into nights, it bleeds into weekends. So maybe just let's kind of peel back a couple of the pages and get a little into this. Share on some of the key tactics that we should be thinking about how we can grab back more time.
Yeah. So how you said I love metaphors?
Yes, you do.
Play with one.
Okay.
Are you ready for this?
I am ready.
So imagine every task and every obstacle that you have to do is an ice cube. And your job is to melt them. So obstacles might be a bit bigger ice cube, but essentially that's your job. Melt the ice cubes. The faster you do that, the more efficiently, most effectively that you do that, you can go on with your day. Like, life is good. But as part of the human experience, we don't just melt the ice cube. Ew. We get to travel around with this big pile of snow. And this big pile of snow is represented by misplaced emotion, negative storylines, and barriers to performance, like worry and judgment and complaining and not setting boundaries and, just like negative self-talk, you name it. There's so many. I actually have 31 that I talk about in the book.
Wow.
And so this is the snow. So instead of just going into our day and melting the ice cubes, because, you're talented at the work you do, and then probably, you'd have a lot less, it's still time stolen from your life if you just melted the ice cubes. If you're like all the rest of us, you're going to take those ice cubes and back them in the snow. And then we have all of a sudden a snowball. And the snowball is our misplaced emotion. And it might show up with, you are, really fearful about world events, and somebody asks you a question and you're irritable and you snap at them, right? Like that's sort of like an indication that there's a misplaced emotion. Or negative storyline is like the other layer of snow. And so now, somebody didn't really like give you the warm and fuzzies in your meeting, and you leave the meeting and you're like, oh my gosh, I wonder why, he's mad at me. Like, what did he do? Like, what did I do? And then you create this whole storyline, and then the barriers to performance. Like, if somebody worries, think about it. It's a down payment on a problem that you may never actually have.
Yeah, I like that.
And it can take days out of your life. Like I remember one of my coaching clients, he lost his entire Christmas vacation because he was worried about tax season, right? And he's a senior executive. And I'm like, it's 2 months away. So when we met, we actually, it took some time, but the next holiday, I'm like, how are your holidays? He goes, oh, fantastic. Didn't worry about tax season at all. So like you think about these barriers, and they're complicating our life, and they're stealing our time. And so if we can blast through the snow, and that's my work, is helping people blast through that snow.
Two things. I love the metaphor. Next, it's not surprising that somebody from Canada has an ice cube and snow as their metaphor. I mean, here we are in like one of the worst winters we've had in about 10 years. And now we need to be reminded about the ice and the snow. Come on, Allison. Nobody.
It's really awkward in the summertime when I talk about it. But my favorite thing though, is I get pictures of boardroom table or boardroom whiteboards, right? Of where a team is in the middle of trying to solve a problem. And they're like, this isn't working, guys. And then somebody will say, guys, what's the actual ice cube here?
Yeah.
And what snow are we piling on? And so we just make everything more complicated, because what's harder to melt, the ice cube or the snowman?
I love the idea. And I'm also very curious as it relates to this writing process versus other stuff. Because like the mini books, by the way, can be just as hard as doing another one. And I joked about it that you literally gave up your weekends to write a book about take back your weekends. But you must have just been in complete snowball mode, if you would. You're keeping the analogy going here. In rolling with it, did it just like spew right out? Because I have a feeling that's what kind of happened, or was it really structured? It did.
It did. So a couple things. Deadline is a magic pill, right? Like having a good deadline. And I actually had 3 speeches last week. And with 2 of them, I offered the book as a giveaway. So that was important to be able to follow up. And so when I actually sat down on the Sunday night to write the book, I intended to write it in 3 days. And that didn't quite happen. So they got it done today. That's fine. But here's the thing. Number one, I know my material inside and out because I've created this. I have taught it. I speak about it. So I didn't have to create content.
Right.
I've also, I used to be a columnist. I'm pretty fast typer. I mean, if I took a speed test, it's probably 85 words a minute. I don't know. That's a guess.
Wow. I don't know.
But the third thing is my ice cube was right.
Yeah.
So if I would have added on, oh, nobody's going to read this book. What if people don't like it? What if, or emotionally like, oh, I'm so tied to this material. Do I just want to give it for $9.97 out in the world? Like, you know what I mean? Like if I would have packed snow around the ice cube, which was melt the book, it would have taken me 3 years to write the book.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have that issue and they don't know it. And I think that you're hitting the key point. It's a lot of focus, which is a lot of what this is. Like focus on this one piece that this one task you need to take care of. And set yourself a timeline and do it really quick and get it out, which is, by the way, awesome and empowering. Knowing for those who've ever had to write a book or thinking about one, it's not easy. So as you've put this together as this quick mini book here, it's a great message, by the way, for everybody working, but who's going to benefit the most from it? And what do you think as the author is that takeaway that you want them to benefit the most from?
Yeah. So I imagine the person I had in my mind writing this, I won't give you her name. She's a coaching client.
Okay.
3 minutes into our first call, she just started crying. You'll notice a theme. People cry around.
People cry around you. I'm starting to get sad. No, I'm pretty.
So we'll get you soon, Lou.
You'll get me? Okay.
All right. But it was a cry of frustration.
Yeah.
Because here's the situation. She's working from home for the first time in her professional career. She has kids. So every time she is working, she feels like she's letting down her family and she's not serving the kids. And then when she's with the kids, she's worried about the to-do list that is piling up. And the problem with this, if we are emotionally attached to our to-do list, we're screwed. Like, because first of all, just because something's on a list doesn't, like, the purpose of the list is to remember what you have to do. And so many times when I talk with people, they're like, oh yeah, I got to do this. I got to do that again. And I'm like, it's on the list. Like, stop giving your brain that job, right? Like, stop. Because it's stealing. It's a layer of snow, right? It's a barrier to performance. And so my goal, she said, like, Allison, she said, I just feel so guilty all the time that I can't do enough. I can't keep up and I can't get caught up. And I'm like, exactly.
Yeah. Stop
chasing the end of a list. It's not a list that's going to end. It's a task circle. And as soon as we can get emotionally okay with the fact that when something comes off, 10 or 2 or 10 items go on the list, we can stop. We know it's a task circle. It's just going to keep going. And then we can emotionally step back and go, I don't need to be upset that I'm not finishing the list because I know the list is never actually going to end.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's huge if you can do that disconnect.
I've got a good question for you. And it's right on point here. And this has to do with how come when there is a real serious emergency, call it a fire in the building or whatever it might be, we're able to prioritize very effectively in those crazy moments. But it's almost like when we have extra time or there isn't the deadline that is pressing, that's where most people have the problems and add the stress and add the snow on top of the cube. Why do you think that is? What is that sense of urgency that maybe gets lost or gets deprioritized as we're trying to figure out what to do next and when to do it?
Yeah. So such a brilliant point that you're making, Lou. And here's the issue is that stress is designed to put us into focus mode. That's good stress. Like, not all stress is bad. So the way I liken it is this, is imagine you had a helium balloon and, you hold it down, right? And this is like, you're holding onto it and this is your day. And then all of a sudden a stressful event comes and the helium balloon goes right to the top, right? And it just points right up. Okay. And then, when the stress is gone, we have the capability to bring it back down and the balloon just kind of stays there. Right. And it recovers. And then there's another stressful event and it goes like straight up and we focus and we go into crisis mode and we get everything we need to get done and like laser pointer. The challenge, and one of the reasons I think people are struggling so much right now with COVID and the coping fatigue is because COVID happened. And you're right to say that people were already on the brink of burnout before COVID. So we can't blame COVID for everything, but we can definitely, it added another layer. But so first thing, so we're going along, right? We've got our helium balloon. It goes, we go up to the top, to the brink. And then there was nothing that alleviated it to bring it back down. And so now, what happens when you have a helium balloon that's on a string and right up, it starts to like deflate over time. And then all of a sudden we go back. And now, like, I feel like a lot of people we're just a whole bunch of deflated helium balloons, right? Trying to have a rally for a stress response. And we can't because the helium balloon is boom, right? So that's how stress is designed to work. It's a really great thing. The challenge is if we're never coming back down to baseline, and the truth is our society has taught us, like, we don't even know what baseline is.
Exactly.
For ourselves. We don't even know, let alone recover to it, right? Like, we've got to find, because between too little stress, which is like basically boredom, like you would hate your life. People say, oh, I don't want to be stressed. I'm like, oh my God. Could you imagine what life would be like if you had no stress? Especially if you're a high achiever, like, hate it. But then we get so used to operating at the top of our capacity right? Then we're just like, we've got no wiggle room. We got nowhere to go when we're looking to get. So that's what it is. So it's the stress response that causes the focus honing. And it's also like, if you think about the weekends, a lot of leaders will say to me, but Allison, the best time, the time I get my work done is on Saturday morning when nobody interrupts me.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, because on Saturday morning, you've got a deadline, you've got a desire to get out, and you don't allow disruptions.
I like it. I also recognize that maybe you loved chemistry as a kid or something like that. I mean, between the ice and the helium and where things have gone, listeners need to know. I think I made her choke on her water here. So hopefully she's not.
Oh my God. All I can see is my chemistry teacher hearing that and just being like, oh no.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like those are some really good analogies, Allison, and I love them. And both of them, from the ice to the helium. I'm just waiting for what version the liquid part comes in here. I guess you've covered that in trying to melt it. It's a
scientist who's listening and going, that's not how it works.
I understood what the whole deflating of the balloon was. The analogy I needed. Let's do this. Let's take the admin part of the show out here first. Okay, share with everyone where they can find Take Back Your Weekends, links to you, all the social notes. We will put it all in the show notes, but it always gets more engagement when they hear it from you.
Definitely. Awesome. So AllisonGraham.co is my website, and you can link to the Take Back Your Weekends book there. If you have a team and you want them to hear some of this, of course, I have the speaking is the main work I do is speaking and coaching clients. So all of that is at AllisonGraham.co. So thanks for that plug.
Okay. So we're going to do that. Now, normally we've already done some of this stuff before on these catch-up episodes. We go a little different. I want to kind of go back because I want to get your 2 cents on this, because a lot of our time and urgency and how it's easier to melt that ice cube. Let's talk about how we had recently reconnected, because there's a combination of really good value with this medium I'm about to speak about. And there's also an unbelievable amount of people distracted, arguably maybe putting too much time into it. Your 2 cents on Clubhouse. Those who haven't listened to any of the other episodes beforehand or aren't familiar, Clubhouse is a new app, which is basically an audio social app. It is where you can listen in. It's just you. They got an image of your face. There's no texting, no videos. It's just conversations. It's like literally the ultimate, when we were younger, Allison, like Party Line, but basically you just jump in and have your conversations with great groups, great content. And in lieu of a lot of in-person events, this is like the ultimate conference to be attending. So I want to hear your 2 thoughts on it, both on the app itself, with the good parts and maybe the distracting parts.
Okay. So I love Clubhouse. I love it. And here's what it did for me. From a self-awareness perspective, I know that I feed off of newness.
Yeah.
Right? Like the reason I love the airport, the reason I love conferences is because who am I going to meet around the corner? Right? And what's the conversation going to evolve to? I'm also, people might have a hard time believing this, a bit of an introvert. So I like to be able to turn that off, right? Like I don't always want to have to be on. And what I find with Clubhouse is it's the equivalent of being at the conference, walking through the hallway saying, hey, how are you? Let's go to the bar and have a chit chat, hanging out, having a great conversation, couple drinks, and then you can hang up and go to your hotel room or go home or whatever the case may be.
Hold on one second. I'm jumping in right now. Are the 2 people going to the hotel room together, Allison? Is that where you're going with this?
That was not it, because it's audio only and it's remote. And up here in Canada, we're still pretty much locked down. So there's probably nowhere anybody is going. So we digress. Thank you for that. Here's the deal, though. First week, it consumed my life. Every moment of it, I loved it. And you get like this addiction, right? People talk a lot about the Clubhouse addiction. And as such, I put in parameters. So I think I won't go on till 4:00 in the afternoon, or I'll schedule a room or plan to go to your room. I know you have one on Thursdays about podcasting, which is exceptional. So I'll put those in my calendar of when I want to be there. And then that keeps me from going on impulsively.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, I'm going to go on at 6:00 tonight to see this room.
I think that the hardest thing, and it's quite interesting. This is just one of the things I've noted. And by the way, the rooms have been great. We'll give our shout out to success.com. And of course, the day I decided, to invite everybody to come on the program, which created a whole special series, which you're being featured here as one of those folks. We're giving you a little different caveat because you're like alum here to the show. But it has been a great way to network and connect and to learn a lot of stuff in lieu of being able to physically go to conferences and do that. And I'm pretty busy all day long, so I can't spend as much time. But what I will tell you is that even while we were prepping to come on this, I got 3 invites in my text window to come and join a specific room. And you can't always jump in. And, there's almost this sense of FOMO. I don't want to miss out on it. And the sense of, ooh, this is really cool. Like, shiny, bright object. Yes. So I guess key tips that you use. I like that I do the same thing. I block them off and I have hard ends. Even the room that we host, we have a hard stop after a certain amount of time, which
I know because I got there too late. You wouldn't let me up to the stage because it's hard stop time. So
yes, but I was taking back your weekday at that particular point, not your weekend.
I'm celebrating that.
But I think that I also think there is a little bit of craze going on with it at the time we're recording this, and as we start to maybe getting back to a little bit of normal, not in Canada, but everywhere else where we're starting to ease back in, I believe that it'll find its right function for where it can go.
Yeah, so it very well may be, and so the FOMO is interesting because I would actually add FOMO as a layer of snow. It would be a barrier to performance.
That's right.
And so, the whole way that I help people blast through the snow is using my problem-solving framework. And the second piece of that framework is self-awareness. So the second I'm engaged in FOMO, I'm looking at, okay, what do I actually really think I'm missing out on? And I start unpacking that so that I can make because our patterns are so instinctive, right? Like we're just like, oh, FOMO, let me grab my phone, let me go on. No. As opposed to FOMO, self-awareness, interrupt the pattern, question the pattern, get kind of curious. Do I really need to be on there? What am I really thinking I'm missing out on? No. And then making a conscious decision to choose to go on or choose not to go on.
This is why Allison rocks for the folks out there, because obviously I went off track, brought her back in. She went right into her speak. She has her stuff down.
Well, I didn't mean, it wasn't like a media technique to pull it back in, but it's like,
I thought it was great.
That's how I deal with everything. It's the lens through which I view life.
I like it.
That, we glorify tasks and being busy, and then we minimize adversity. Oh, I'm fine. You're not fine. You just went through cancer. You just went through a divorce. You just went through COVID. You're not fine. But, we glorify, oh, look at me. I got so much to do. And then we dramatize our obstacles. Like, oh my God, you would not believe what that person did. Like as if that's exciting. Whereas I'm like, you know what? Reverse it. Adversity, like own it, feel it, experience it, go into the grit. And then our tasks, just do them. Like adversity, we have to heal. Tasks we need to do. And obstacles we need to solve.
I like it. Permission to go down Fun Street with me, Allison.
Come on.
We always have fun. So we're not going to do the movie question right now, where I normally ask you what your favorite movie is. The first thing I want to ask you, and this is a good one. What is the first fun thing that you're going to do when they open up the borders of Canada and you're actually able, I think actually you can leave, right? But you can't get back in or something of that nature. So I want to know the first fun thing that you're going to do.
Oh, you know what? Here's a piece of regret in my life. I've never gone to Nashville.
Oh,
and
you got to
go. I love country music. And so
I love it.
I'm all in. I want a concert. I want a bar to dance in. Even though I'm a little bit old for a dance party, I'm in. And
you are not old.
I know, but I'm not 22 to go dancing till 3:00 in the morning, but I'm all in on a Nashville concert followed by some epic dancing for the night. Let's do it. Who's in? Meet me in Nashville.
I do like this. I went to Nashville in 2019. I think supposedly we were supposed to be visiting a college with my daughter, but it really was just about going to Nashville, and it was awesome. It was awesome. And I love country music too. I don't know if you know that. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that after the show. Okay. All right. Now we're going to do the speed round of Fun Street, and let me explain how this goes, Allison. I'm going to ask you something, and I want the first thing that comes to your mind. I want things that lift you up, make you feel good, make you thrive. Okay? You ready?
I'm ready.
A song you love to hear or that pumps you up.
Oh no, too many. I've got so much. I was listening to, what's it called? Mercy Me or something or I don't know. I don't know the names of any of the songs. Okay, but I have everything from Eminem to like country, and anything that has a strong beat and can be in my earbuds, and I can have a dance party. I'm in. Okay.
Favorite food that's not a dessert?
Nachos.
A favorite dessert? Nachos also?
Nachos. You said first thing that comes to my mind.
That's good.
Oh, no, I'm teasing. Ice cream. I would go ice cream. Yeah.
An activity you wish you did more of?
I don't want to say dance again. What do I wish I would do more of? I don't know. Hot yoga, because I can't go to a hot yoga studio right now.
Okay. An activity you wish you did less of?
Eat nachos.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's fair. You know what was really in my mind is I think in many ways I've designed my life to really just embrace and enjoy. And so even when I do things that I'm like, maybe I don't want to do this, I still have such an attitude of gratitude. Oh God, that rhymed, didn't it? That I just feel so blessed to be.
Oh, I like it. So the activity you wish you did less of would be?
Well, if I had to do anything, I'd say, you know what? I do love myself a good TV show.
Okay. Gotcha. So maybe cut that down. Gotcha.
Yeah, I probably have, but I would, yeah.
Other than Nashville, if I could snap my fingers and you can go anywhere in the world.
Yeah. Where
are you?
The Finland igloos.
Ooh, that's awesome. I don't think I've ever heard that answer. Have you been there before?
No, I am very aware of the things I wish I did before COVID happened. Okay. So there are 3 things.
Yeah. Nashville,
the Finland igloos to see the Northern Lights, and do you know the igloos I mean? Like they're out in the sea, right? And an Arctic cruise. And I tack on Antarctica, but Arctic is the one that really, initially I was like, oh shoot, how long is this going to last?
I like how we've just learned a little bit more about chemistry and geography, that obviously that south is Nashville to her and everything else stays above the cold border around the world, wherever she'd want to go. Allison Graham, author, media commentator, speaker, lover of metaphors, and most notably the author of Take Back Your Weekends, which just came out. We're going to give all the links to it. So psyched to have you on here. Thanks for continuing to elevate women in this world, which you're doing each and every day. And great to have you on Thrive Loud.
Awesome. Thank you.
And to all our listeners and viewers out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
Thanks for listening to this special episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, brought to you by Success.com and Thrive Loud. To learn more about this great program and elevating the brilliant minds of women, head on over to thriveloud.com or Success.com. And make sure to follow Lou at Thrive Loud everywhere on social media to learn more about this special series. Thanks for listening.